Hey, I'm Randy, and I'm the Cheap Audio Man. Here at the Cheap Audio Man, we don't feel like audio equipment, amps, speakers, DACs, turntables, headphones should cost as much as jumping on a last-minute flight to Las Vegas to bail your buddy out of the Clark County Jail because things went really, really wrong at a Chris Angel performance. Yeah, and he didn't want to tell his fiance about it. And these don't. Saturday Speaker Shootout. JBL Stage A130s versus the Emotiva Airmotiv B1 Plus. So grab a cup of coffee, sit down, and let's talk about the Saturday Speaker Shootout between the JBL Stage A130s and the Emotiva Airmotiv B1 Plus. Okay, let's talk about their specs. Not some specs, their specs. All right, Emotiva B1 Plus, 86 dB sensitivity, 8 ohm impedance. They're rated at 48 hertz up to 28,000 hertz. 5 and a quarter inch woven fiber, woven fiber woofer, and a 25 millimeter by 32 millimeter Airmotiv ribbon tweeter, folded ribbon tweeter. That's what they call it. JBL Stage A130, 86 dB, 55 up to 40,000 hertz. Yeah, 6 ohm. All right, 5 and a quarter inch polycellulose driver, 1 inch aluminum tweeter, and then it's in like a horn. They call it a high definition something or other horn. All right. Build quality, they're both the same. I mean, you could say that neither one of them are like outstanding with the woods and the veneers and all that good stuff. They have a very nice vinyl wrap. The Emotiva has something kind of like a fake leather wrap. Got some angles on the front baffle. This one's rounded. You know what? They're both fine. They're both great. I like both of them. I think they look awesome. Okay. So let's talk about Soundstage and Imaging. Soundstage and Imaging. Okay. First of all, they're both good. Horizontal soundstage and imaging. Use chocolate chip Trip by Tool. Both of them did an admirable job of lateral soundstage, lateral imaging, movement across both speakers, coming all the way to the sides. And in certain rooms, even behind, you can start to hear the reverb and things like that coming from behind you. They both did great, okay, laterally. Wherever I may roam, both of them kind of way right, all right? The differences start to come out with vertical imaging. I feel like the JBL A130 does a better job of vertical imaging, and that makes sense just by looking at the horn. While there is some angle up and down on the Emotiva tweeter, I don't think it throws frequencies up there quite as well as the A130. And I think if you look at the vertical off-axis frequency responses, you can kind of come up with that conclusion anyway. All right. Uninvited. So here's where they're a little bit different. So on Uninvited by Alanis Morissette, I felt like there was a much greater depth to the soundstage with the JBLs than with the Emotiva, specifically in kind of a forward to aft. Actually, it'd be forward to aft soundstage. Okay, so placement of individuals, instruments, and things like that in the plane from me to the camera, or the camera to me. All right. Let's talk about bass. All right, bass on these are pretty similar. Okay, so Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys felt more present at the higher notes with the JBLs. But if you wanted to hear the enormity of the bass, the Emotivas, I felt had a better roll off. So the JBLs, I feel like, have more presence at, the, I don't know, 80, 100 hertz area. The Emotiva rolls off better. I found that interesting because the Emotiva is actually spec'd down to 48, or the JBL is spec'd to 55, okay? So at lower volumes, I actually think the JBL feels punchy. And I always thought the Emotivas felt pretty punchy at lower volumes too. So they're both good, but they're both good in different ways. Okay, Killing Strangers, both of them, Marilyn Manson, Pale Emperor record. If you haven't listened to that record, listen to it. It's awesome. Both did well. Again, though, the JBL had a little bit more presence in your face a little bit, where the Emotiva had you could hear more of it as it went down. Okay? Let's talk about mid-range. Mid-range on these speakers, both good for different reasons. Okay? Emotiva, Rooster by Alice in Chains off the MTV Unplugged record. Rooster, more detailed. You can hear more going on with the voices. And it wasn't like overtly detailed where it seemed like fake. It was just very clear. Clear. And it didn't sound thin either. With that said, there was more warmth in the mid-range with the JBLs. A little bit less clarity, but maybe a little bit more body. So while both of these I feel mid-ranged well, it's ultimately kind of what the listener wants. If they want a more detailed, I wouldn't say clinical because it's still musical. If you want a more detailed experience, then the Emotiva is the way to go. If you want a more rich, maybe butterier experience, while I still don't think this is a buttery speaker, but the mid-range is butterier on the JBL as it is on the Emotiva, then the JBL is going to be the speaker you want to go to. Still maintains clarity, still maintains body. It's just that's kind of where they differentiate. Still both good. I felt like the mid-range on the JBL, the overall frequency response was a bit higher. So I feel like the frequency response on the JBL was more of a straight line, flat, where I feel like the mid-range on the Emos was a bit dipped, but not in a bad way, not in a way that's going to be like, oh, I cannot stand this, this is totally V-shaped speaker, any of that stuff. They're still good. They're just different. Okay, let's talk about treble. Treble. Sad but true. Metallica. Usually I use sad but true for like mid-range, but I was listening to the cymbals. At the beginning, yeah, I think that sounded that. So Lars is like the hi-hats just cracked a bit, and he's just man, with the Emotivas you could just see it. I mean, just the stick and the strike and the little, distant. Really good. Really, really good. Really realistic. In your brain, you can visualize it. Okay? Not as much with the JBLs. Kind of makes sense with the different tweeter materials. Okay? Now, when I listen to Sinnerman by Nina Simone, the 16th notes sound more detailed and clear on the Emotivas, but they sounded like they had more body on the JBLs. So neither one of them was like, oh my gosh, this is right in the room. Like I couldn't be able to tell the difference between a real one and the speaker. If you combine them, then they would be perfect. So again, it kind of goes back to what you want. If you want ultimate detail and clarity, Emotiva. If you want a little bit more heft, thickness, tactile nature to the eyes, JBLs. Okay. They're both really good. So what are my final thoughts? Final thoughts. Oh, first, these are both great. Both great and both exceptional. I think if you were in a desktop situation, Emotivas are probably the way to go. Simply because they're smaller. They're a smaller enclosure. Not like a lot smaller, but they're smaller. Okay, so in a desktop situation, probably the Emotivas are the way to go. From a pure real estate standpoint, you could use the Emotivas in a desktop and then, move them to a smaller room, whatever, smaller room, 2-channel, smaller room, front channels for like maybe a bedroom, home theater, something like that. JBLs play a little bit bigger and they fill up a room a little bit easier. I think they're a bit big for a desktop situation, but I think they're going to be better in a larger room. Not saying that the Emotivas can't play in a larger room. They can, especially if you put a high pass filter on them, and don't make them handle all that bass. You definitely can, which you can do with the Emotiva SE8 or SE12 because it has a built-in high pass filter functionality in it. Okay. While the Emotivas are spec'd lower, they seem to have less bass presence at lower volumes than the JBLs. Okay? Better bass roll-off with the Emotivas, but better bass presence at lower volumes with the JBLs. Okay? Here's another one. I feel like the Emotivas are coloring the music a bit more than the JBLs. So I feel like with the JBLs, you're kind of getting what you get with the music. With the Emotivas, I feel like you're getting extra clarity and extreme detail, and it's wonderful and it's awesome. If you don't want that coloration or the Emotiva's take on the music, the JBL might be a better option. Okay? So if you want unrivaled clarity and a bit of a U-shaped frequency response, a fun speaker, and you're going to hear stuff you've never heard in the music before, Emotiva. If you want bigger presence, the ability to fill a room easier, and have a more expansive soundstage and a bit more of an immersive experience, JBL. JBL is also a little bit flatter frequency response. Okay, both great. Both great. I don't know if I could say which one. If I could only keep one, which one I'd keep. I don't know. I think the Emotiva has more personality than the JBLs, but the JBLs are not boring. They're just... Emotivas are a little bit more exciting. I guess. I don't know. They're both exciting. They both sound great. It's just the Emotivas have that extra clarity while the JBLs have that extra soundstage. So ultimately it's, up to what you want. Okay? So if you like what we're doing, you can support the channel a few different ways. My link to the patreon.com/cheapaudioman patron place is in the description. You can click there, and then if you want to contribute to the channel, we have Sunday night Zoom only meetings for patrons. We also have patron only content that I'm going to record right after I press stop. If you use any of the links in the description, they are affiliate links, so I do get a commission off of those sales, which helps the channel, helps me get more stuff. Okay, both of these are bought at MSRP by me. Nobody sent these to me. I bought both of them. I've had these for a while. Just recently got these. Also, you can sign up for Amazon Music HD for free. Click on the link in the description. Scroll down to the bottom. Click Try HD. You get 3 months for free of high definition music, and I get like $2. Okay? So if you like what we're doing and you had some fun today, maybe consider subscribing. Maybe like the video if you like the video. So don't binge watch Netflix or anything. Binge listen to your favorite music and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy, and I'm the Cheap Audio Man.